The deeper into these lectures we go, the more experimental I'm willing to be with the chatbot here with the Notebook LM. When might we reach a relative state of equality of opportunity in American society? What could we do to expedite progress for our young people, for our kids? Distinct from civil liberties, protections from government, civil rights are guarantees by government that ensure individuals are treated equally and are protected from discrimination. Civil rights concern legal protections for groups historically subject to exclusion or unfair treatment based on characteristics like race, gender, sex, religion, or national origin. The core constitutional foundation for civil rights lies in the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, which states that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. History of civil rights in America is largely a history of struggle by marginalized groups to achieve the equality promised by the Declaration of Independence and the 14th Amendment. The longest and arguably most central civil rights struggle involved overcoming legacies of slavery and Jim Crow segregation by African Americans. Despite the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, systematic discrimination persisted. Supreme Court initially weakened protections, i.e. Plessy versus Ferguson, upholding the separate but equal doctrine. The civil rights movement of the mid-20th century, using tactics like nonviolent protests, boycotts, and legal challenges, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and organizations like the NAACP, pressured the federal government to act. Women. The fight for women's rights includes the suffrage movement, leading to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, and later struggles for equal pay, reproductive rights, and protection against discrimination in education and employment, like Title IX. Other groups include Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, LGBTQ plus individuals, people with disabilities, and religious minorities who have all fought for equal rights and protection under American law. They have all faced distinct forms of discrimination and have sought remedies through legal and political action. All three branches of the United States federal government have played roles, sometimes contradictorily, in responding to demands for equality over the decades. Under the judicial branch, the Supreme Court's interpretations of the Equal Protection Clause have been pivotal. In Brown versus Board of Education, they overturned Plessy versus Ferguson and declared that state-sponsored school segregation was unconstitutional, which energized the civil rights movement in 1953. Later decisions addressed the discrimination in voting, employment, housing, and affirmative action policies designed to counteract past discrimination. The legislative branch, Congress passed landmark legislation, often after intense pressure from civil rights activists over the decades. Key examples would include the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in public accommodations and in employment, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which combated decades of racial discrimination in voting across the South, as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act, famously in 1990. In the executive branch, presidents have used executive orders, like Truman desegregating the military, Johnson pushing for civil rights legislation after Kennedy's assassination. And in the executive branch, presidents have directed federal agencies like the Department of Justice to enforce civil rights laws. I can even think of Barack Obama addressing gays in the military, things like that. However, progress has been slow and met with resistance, both culturally within the military and within the federal government and within American society. Government power has also been used to uphold discrimination, i.e. enforcing segregation laws, the initial failure to protect voting rights. The ongoing debates over issues like affirmative action, voting rights, LGBTQ plus rights, and racial justice demonstrate that the struggle for equality and the interpretation of the Equal Protection Clause remains a central challenge in American society. Achieving formal legal equality does not always translate into substantive equality in practice either, highlighting the persistent gap between the American ideals and the reality which we must continue to fight for.